In progress.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, on behalf of Women and Young Members Excellence Committee of ICAI, it's my pleasure to welcome you all to the Yashaswini and Ideal series. Yashaswini and Ideal is a Wednesday series of programs conducted by WIMC for the women CAs and by the women CAs. This series is an extension of Sky High Symposium, which concluded its 100 episodes. It is one of the committee's initiatives to not only disseminate information to women members on technical updation and non technical skills, but also to empower and inspire women members to come at forefront and realize their verbal skills at public forum. I now take this opportunity to introduce our speaker for today's session, C. Prajakta Chincholkar. She is a chartered accountant with more than 16 years of experience. She specializes in financial management, taxation, and audits. She is a passionate mentor and dynamic speaker and trained over 5,000 CA students and professionals across India. She has been honored with CA Nari Shakti Award and she actively contributes to ICA initiatives. With this brief introduction, I welcome you for today's session. CA Prajakta ma'am, the floor is yours.
Thank you, CA Amiji, and my very warm regards to the entire Women and Young Members Excellence Committee under the able leadership of CA Preeti Savla ma'am, CA Ravi Kumar sir, and the entire back office team also. So let me grab an opportunity today to share my words of wisdom with you all. So I'll be sharing my screen. I hope the screen is visible. And today we are talking about a very much needed, the need of an hour topic, which is about NRI and Indian tax, a 360-degree CA perspective. So, as all of you know, that NRI taxation is increasing day by day. Uh, so, I'll have a practical approach while I will be explaining about the topic. Let me first share the key takeaways of the session, how I have divided the session. So, broadly, we'll be covering 7 topics. Hopefully, the time will permit us to include everything. And I have included a few case studies also. In case studies, I have also included what are the takeaways or the decisions that CA should take, what are the suggestions that a CA should ask his clients to do so, what are the documentation that he should take from his client. Everything is included. No doubt, I'll be including the theoretical aspects, that is the legality, but my thrust would be more over the practical aspects. So initially, we'd be starting with the introduction, why NRI tax matters a lot in these days. So I'll be briefly giving you an overview about that. We'll be quickly discussing something about residential status because it plays a vital role while we are talking about NRIs. Then we'll be also talking about the income taxation of NRIs, the heads of income, the nuances that we face, how it is to be taxed, why notices comes, everything we'll be discussing there. Much needed discussion when we talk about NRIs is about DTA, DTAA, relief under DTAA, when should we claim, why should we claim, how should we claim, everything will be discussed. I'll be also touching upon one important point because whenever we are dealing with NRI taxation and we are advising our clients from tax planning perspective, gift tax, how the gifts and inheritance is taxed in the hands of NRIs or maybe in the hands of recipient if NRI is giving the such gifts. So that also will be touched upon. Then repatriation under FEMA, and I'll be also touching upon the Black Money Act, just some aspects of it. Because we are having a 360-degree perspective, so I have tried including FEMA and Black Money Act also. Then one elaborative discussion over the real estate investment by NRIs, the sell proceeds out of real estate investment in India, and how should one have the tax planning over that. So these would be your broad key takeaways for the session. And as I mentioned, we'll be having the legal aspects. We'll be watching over the legal aspects first. Then we'll be also seeing the real life scenarios for CAs, like the practical case studies. We'll be also touching upon. At times, wherever it is possible and needed, I have included the checklists for the documentation that a chartered accountant should get from his client. So this way we'll be moving ahead. That will be broadly our discussion flow. So here we deep dive into the NRI taxation. When we say the word NRI, mostly I'll be touching upon the individual taxation, obviously, because in 1 hour we'll not be able to cover even the non-resident companies and all. But why NRI tax matters a lot in these days? So we have been seeing that the repatriation from NRIs to India has been increasing to a greater canvas day by day. India has been seeing a greater rise in such repatriation. In 2024, we have got around 124 billion USDs repatriated to India, which includes FDI also. So we are standing consecutively third time in the country's list, which is exceeding 100 billion repatriation money. So we are also doing excellent in FDIs. At the same time, we could see that there is a rise in global mobility. So we are also seeing Indians who are migrating abroad and for work and education. Education to brain drain we have been discussing and knowing since long. But these days we are also seeing some Indians who are living in the other countries but working for India. That is something unusual that we are facing in these days. Then because of this particular thing, we are facing the frequent cross border transactions, and obviously it gives rise to the complications for repatriation taxation in both the countries. Post pandemic, as we all know, remote work access is increased, work from home situations are increasing. So that's why, NRI taxation matters a lot for us. We all know that OECD is such an organization which has been constantly working over regularization of taxation in the countries. So we have to also know something which is called as BEPS, base erosion and profit shifting. So on global level, OECD has been working over BEPS projects so that the country should not shift their profit to the tax haven countries, and they should not escape from the taxation which is there in Indian tax scenarios. So that's why also this topic becomes very important for all of us. When we talk about MNEs, that is multinational enterprises, we have been seeing that they have been planning for tax. They have been planning such a tax strategies to erode India's tax base. So to overcome that also, NRI taxation becomes very important and crucial. We have been also seeing the increasing tax scrutinies. Now, in my slides ahead, you will come to know about the reasons why there is rise in tax scrutinies and for what matters. Income tax department has been sending notices to NRIs. We'll be touching upon this point in brief later. But for now, we should understand that there has been increase in tax scrutinies of NRI, and that's why NRI have been facing increased disclosures also. I'll be touching upon that point also. So NRI taxation matters a lot. Now, what role Indian CAs are playing in this? So we are obviously an expert advisory into this. So we can help our client in deciding their residency rule, no matter whether it's individual, whether it's company. Everyone needs the guidance and consultancy over the residency rules of India. The detailed study and application of DTAA is also the need of the hour. And what are the filing obligations under DTAA as well as under the Income Tax Act? That in this particular front also, Indian CAs, we can play a vital role. Cross-border structuring, as we I have been seeing that there is a mushroom rise in startups in India. There is rise in FDIs in India. So cost cross-border structuring plays an important role. Along with that, repatriating the income is also becoming crucial these days, and that's why we come to their rescue, to the client's rescue. Again, we as a CAs, we are well versed in representation services as we do for our domestic clients. So we can represent our NRI clients in assessment, appeals, TDS related queries which they face a lot while dealing with Indian taxation. So for this purpose, maybe the particular session, whatever we'll be discussing ahead for 40-45 minutes here onwards, is very important as a professional. So let us understand some real life scenarios. So if we are talking about an NRI who is investing in Indian mutual fund, so there is a form which is again released by OECD. It is called as CRS. So a financial institution AMCs must collect the CRS declaration from an NRI. All right, this is a real life scenario. As I told you, I'll be connecting with the real life scenario. Let's take an example that an Indian resident who is having a bank account in UK. So it is expected under OECD, expected under G20 guidelines that UK will share account data with India via CRS. So these data is already available with Income Tax Department. So while we are advising our clients, we should take cognizance of this. If we take an example of a foreign company which is having operations in India, we as a CA should take the cognizance of FATCA as well as CRS. So when purposefully not going into the details of it, as this is a global scenario and our topic mostly focuses over the Indian taxation. So I'm just quickly telling you the real life scenarios and let us move ahead again. So as I told you, the global taxation also wants us some changes to be made in Indian taxation, and you can see over the screen that these are some rules, some sections which are inculcated by Indian taxation for to take care that NRIs declare their income through Common Reporting Standard (CRS), through FATCA, Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act, and that's why there are lot many changes which are done in Indian taxation also. So the screen is shared. You can go through the rules and the form numbers as well as the sections which are mentioned here. Uh, Apart from that, there is one important change since last financial year, which is made in Indian income tax portal, on the Indian income tax portal, wherein whenever any resident RNOR or NRI who is filing the income tax return in India, he has to disclose his foreign assets in the income tax return. So, this is very important point for all of us as a CAs to take care, because even if you're not NRI, even if you're a resident person and you fail to declare that foreign asset in your income tax return, then there are penal proceedings which you may follow under Black Money Act also. So we have to be very careful while we are filing the returns for NRIs as well as for residents. So maybe whenever we are getting an authority letter from our client to file the return on his behalf, because NRIs are mostly classified as HNIs also sometimes. In that authority letter, we can include this particular aspect about the foreign asset disclosure. So I'll be touching upon this point if required in the latter part also. So let us now go to the second topic for the discussion, and that is about residential status. This stands very important in the entire NRI taxation, particularly because this is the foundation of NRI tax. So all of us now, I'll be touching upon the sections quickly because all of us know the basic legal framework of residential status. But still, through this particular session, we need to revise this, and we'll also go and study one or two important case studies with respect to residential status. So, as we all know, Section 6 talks about the residential status. We know that if we are classified as a resident, our global income get taxed. If we are classified as non-resident, only Indian sourced income is taxed. And if we are classified as RNOR, resident but not ordinarily resident, then what is taxable? Indian income and foreign income, which is derived from a business controlled in India or profession set up in India. Now, there could be at length discussion over only these two concepts, that is, business controlled in India and profession set up in India. We can have a detailed discussion over PE also, but that will be in the follow up series maybe. RNR and RNOR, these are the three basic concept in residential status. So we know that the general rule for residential status, what we have been studying since long and we have been applying in our practical practice also, is if a person stays in India for more than 180 days and he is having Indian income. So now here in this particular column, we are talking about Indian income. So he might have any income and he is living in India for more than 180 days. He is classified as resident. Now this is applicable for all individual irrespective of citizenship, because there are some changes that Income Tax Act have done, and because of that citizenship also matters, that I'll discuss later. So the basic condition we all know 182 days. Then there are some additional conditions to classify for RNOR, that is 60 days in the previous year, and 360 days in the 4 years block. So all these concept, additional concepts, that also we know. Apart from that, what I want to discuss here are some amendments that have been made. So if a person is an Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin and he is visiting India, so let us understand it through an explanation. So Indian citizen or person of Indian origin, he visits India, he'll be treated as non-resident only if he is having an income which is less than 15 lakh and he stays in India for less than 182 days. All right, then only he'll be treated as non-resident. Again, there is something which Income Tax Act has introduced, which stands in between exceeding 120 days but less than 182 days. So supposing that an Indian person whose income exceeds 15 lakhs, when I say Indian person, I mean Indian citizen or person of Indian origin. So if his income exceeds 15 lakhs and he stays between 120 days or 181 days in India, then the person becomes resident, but he is called as an RNOR. All right. So here also we are giving an importance to the income slab, and where here we are considering only Indian income. We are not considering foreign income. Extending this chart further, this is some new rule where we call it as a deemed resident. Now, let's take an example. This is section 6(1)(a) for your benefit. If a person is not liable to tax anywhere else, so let's take an example that he is residing in a tax haven country like UAE, maybe, and earns Indian income, which is less than 15 lakhs, and stays in India for more than 120 days, then also he is deemed as a resident. All right, so this is something new. So whenever we are filing returns for NRIs, we have to take care about the country of residence and what are the rules there. That also we have to take cognizance, and we have to also check for his residency status. So my suggestion to all the CAs who are handling NRIs cases is we should have a proper note prepared based on the we should get the passport copies, because let me share one of the incidences with you all. There was one of my client who was NRI. He was working in merchant navy, not filing his income tax return, and he got a notice from principal commissioner, obviously, of income tax for high value transactions that he has entered into, and we have to prove that he was non-resident Indian for so long, for last 9 to 10 years. And to prove that, obviously, you need to get his passport copies, you need to get his visa stamping, and prove to the department. that whether his residency status was valid, whatever you have shown in the income tax return. So for that, my suggestion to all the CAs here is we should always prepare a note on residency status, and let us make our client aware about the work and efforts that we are putting into this. Then if a person about whom we are talking here, he is liable to tax elsewhere, because here we were talking about a person who were not liable to tax anywhere else. So he is living in a country, in a tax haven country. So in such a case, there is a special anti-abuse provision. So even if that person stays in India for less than 182 days, and if they are not liable to tax in other country, they will become deemed resident of India. So these are, few very important cases with respect to residential status. Now let us quickly go through one case. I think I have two case studies over the residency status. So let me first tell you about the second case study, which is exactly about what we have discussed now. So here is one person who is named as Mr. Arjun Patel. He is working in UAE. So in UAE, there is no personal income tax. So his stay in India during financial year 24-25 is 140 days. His Indian income is 18 lakhs, and it is out of a house property income. Now we have been talking about the income less than 15 lakhs or more than 15 lakhs. So he is already having greater than 15 lakhs Indian income. His foreign income is 1.2 CR, which is a UAE salary. Now what analysis should we have when such clients come to us? So he had stayed in India for more than 120 days, but less than 182 days. All right. So this is a cognizable thing that we must take care. So his Indian income exceeds 15 lakh. Yes, that condition is taken care. Is he liable to tax in foreign country? UAE? No. So with this particular section, now as per the new section 6(1)(a), he is deemed as resident. Okay, so the conclusion is he is deemed as resident but not resident, RNOR. All right. So accordingly, his taxation will be changed. Now, had we classified him as resident, his global income would have been taxed. So what are the tax implications now? Global income would not be taxed. Only his Indian income would be fully taxed. His foreign salary, whatever he is earning in UAE, is not taxed. Um, if he has not remitted it to India for business, which is controlled from India. All right. And how about DTA relief? Yes, he can surely avail DTA relief. Now, here are my few points which we should take cognizance of about the CA's tax planning advisory. How should we advise our client? So, he should maintain two separate accounts, one for his foreign income and one for his Indian income. He should avoid routing UAE salary into Indian business accounts if he has any. He should track days of stay, as I already told you, and we should also document that for our purposes. Document UAE's TRC. We'll be discussing at length what is TRC, tax residency certificate, because if any notice comes later on, for it is always better that we should get TRC from NRIs, and more so if a person wants to claim DTA benefits, then he should have TRC with him. uh, Whatever conditions that we have seen for section 6(1)(a) has to be revisited every year. All right. So that is the key takeaway for this particular case study. Let us now go back again to our presentation wherein we were discussing about the residential status. Let us now move further and understand what are the heads of income, what are the nuances that can be faced by us, or we have to handle as a chartered accountant. So, we have been talking about two sourced income. One is Indian sourced income, and the other one is the foreign sourced income. So, mostly, and let me also touch upon this legal aspect by under FEMA, that Indian sourced income by an NRI has to be deposited into NRO account. We have seen many NRIs who are still maintaining saving bank accounts, which is not allowed as per FEMA. So it has to be Indian sourced income has to be deposited in NRO account. While for foreign source income, he have two options. He can keep it in NRE or FCNR account. All right. So, what are the things, what are the reasons under which an NRI may get income tax notice? So, as I told you, if some NRIs, this mostly happens when the person is leaving the country and he is in first 2 or 3 years of becoming NRI. In that period, maybe he fails to comply with these conditions and his saving bank account is still in existence. So if he had saving bank account and he is gaining the interest over it, and if it is undeclared, then he may get notice, and we have to handle it as a chartered accountant. Income from house property we'll be discussing. There are two kinds of things which we can anticipate in this. One is the sale proceeds, and another is the rental income that he may receive. As I told you in one of my clients' case, he was working in merchant navy since very long, maybe 9, 10 years. Not filed income tax return at any point in time, and suddenly got a notice from income tax department because he has purchased a house worth rupees 2.5 cr without loan, obviously. So by looking at high value transactions, also income tax department may send notices to NRI. Obviously, non-filing of income tax return is also a major cause of sending the notice. And when he should file income tax return, if his income, NRI's income exceeds basic exemption limit, then it is mandatory on his part to file income tax return. But my suggestion is, even though he is not exceeding the basic exemption limit, then also it is always better for his future purposes that he should keep on filing the income tax returns in India. If at any point of time he has misused any of DTAA clauses, or maybe inadvertently done some wrong filings, then also he may get the notices from department. And if there are mismatches in residential status, so we had a detailed discussion about this, and that's why residential status also plays a crucial role here. So um, let us move further and understand what can be the Indian sourced income for an NRI. So basically the salary that he receives from India now, as we discussed in very first slide, these days we are also seeing rise in the people who are residing in some other countries, but they are working for India. So in those cases, they'll be receiving salary from India, or in some cases where a retired person who is living abroad, maybe with his kids, and he is receiving the pension in India, then he may fall in the first category. If a person is receiving rental income from the property which is situated in India, obviously the property which is situated in India, the laws of land prevails, and he has to declare that income in his Indian income tax return. If he is getting interest from Indian banks and deposits, so we have already discussed two types of accounts, NRO account and NRE account. We'll discuss about the taxability of both the accounts in the latter part. Then, if his income includes capital gains from sale of shares or property in India. Then, if he is having a business income from operations or control in India, then also we treat this as an Indian sourced income, and it has to be checked whether this income is taxable in India or not. We, as a chartered accountant, have to also advise our client whether the TDS, whichever is applicable for these income heads, are deducted at source or not. We have to check, because whenever the money has to be repatriated, TDS comes as a crucial part there. So all these heads, whatever we have discussed here, are fully taxable for NRIs as an Indian sourced income. Let us now have a quick look at foreign sourced income. So foreign sourced income is not taxable in India, that we know, for non-residents as well as for RNORs. And we have seen this. If business is controlled or set up in India, then for RNOR it is taxable. Okay, so up till now we have seen about the residential status. We have also seen about what are the we have also seen what are the why the notices can come to NRI. We have also seen what is the meaning of Indian sourced income, foreign sourced income, how it has to be declared in income tax return, what are the cognizances and efforts that Indian CA need to take. Let us now go to key exemptions and deductions which are available for NRIs. So while I'm discussing these key exemption and deduction, we are talking about the exemptions which are available for the incomes which are charged at special rates. So these are the special tax provisions for NRIs which comes in chapter 12A. So I'm not talking about 12 the income which is falling in chapter 12A. Apart from that income, whatever income NRI is fetching, he may get these deductions. So what are these deductions? ATC, ATD, it is available. ATG, donations to specified funds, they are available. ATTTA obviously will not be available for an NRI because he is not expected to have saving bank account in India. All right. If NRI is having a capital gain in his particular financial year, then the exemptions for capital gain under section 54 as well as 54 EC, whatever are available for a resident, they are also available for non-resident Indian. We have been talking about NRO and NRE account. So, income from NRO account is taxable in India because we presume that we presume that this particular we presume that this particular income is from Indian source. So that is taxable, but interest on NRE account is fully exempt. And the section is also mentioned here. Let me quickly just, okay. So income from NRO account is taxable, but income from NRE account is fully exempt. At the same time, interest from specified bonds are exempt under some conditions. Let us now move further and understand the special tax provisions for NRIs. So, as I mentioned about the chapter 12A, wherein they are talking about the foreign exchange assets. So, when we talk about foreign exchange asset, what do we exactly mean by this is any shares, debentures, deposits acquired using foreign currency. So shares, debentures, deposits may or may not belong to India, but they are acquired in foreign currency via NRE or FCNR account by NRI. All right. So it is applicable only to non-residents and not for ROR or RNOR. And tax rates are specified in some cases. We'll see a detailed chart for it. So here we come with it. So there are some definitions which are given by 115C. So it is a whole long series of sections starting from 115C to 115I. So, if a person, an NRI, have an income which is a dividend income other than the income from dividend income by the specified foreign exchange assets. So if he has purchased shares in foreign currency and he is getting dividend over that, then would that everything is defined here in section 115C as foreign exchange assets. Then when we come to 115D, it states us that chapter 6A deductions will not be applicable. So when I was giving you the list of chapter 6A deductions, I already told you that this is not applicable for special tax provisions. And one may not be able to claim the set off of losses against the income which is declared under the special tax provisions. Then section 115E also talks about the concessional tax rates, that is 20% on investment income, 10% on LTCG, only from foreign exchange assets, not the assets which are purchased in Indian currency. So if NRI opts for section 115E, indexation benefit is not allowed to him. It is very clear. But other than the assets which are treated as foreign exchange asset as defined under section 115C, whether the indexation benefit is allowed for NRI or not, Yes, the indexation benefit is allowed for NRI other than the assets which are covered under definition of 115C. 115A talks about capital gain exemption. So here also they say that the LTCG is exempt if the net sale consideration from foreign exchange asset is reinvested in another foreign exchange asset. So like we have 54, section 54 for, normal assets. For foreign exchange assets, they have come up with 115F. And there is also pro rata exemption that is also allowed in this particular case. When we talk about 115G, it mentions about return filing exemptions. So here, if you are declaring your income under special tax provisions, so if an NRI has income only from the foreign exchange assets, and his total income consists of investment income or LTCG, which is covered in 115E, TDS is already deducted. He need not have to file the return. All right. So we, as a chartered accountant, we also have to check these conditions. If they're satisfied, he need not have to file the income tax return. 115H is, NRI becoming resident. He can opt to continue with these deductions, or he may choose to opt out, as it is rightly mentioned here. Okay, so with this, let us move ahead next and discuss something about the relief under DTAA. Now, this is the hot topic, talk of the town, DTAA, and India has entered into more than 90 countries for double taxation avoidance agreement. What do they suggest actually? So they suggest us the exemption methods maybe because the income should be taxed only in one country. They also tell us, DTAA also tell us about the credit method. So tax is usually paid on the source country. So this is very important aspect of DTAA, that tax is paid on the source country and the credit can be availed in the residence country. Now I have a case study for this particular relief. So we'll discuss about it. So if my source country is India, I have to pay taxes in India. And if my country of residence is something else, maybe Germany, so I can avail the tax credit of taxes paid in India in Germany. All right. For this particular, for availing the DTAA benefit, what are the documents that I need? Basically, as I already mentioned, tax residency certificate is the most important document. And even while we issue 15 CVs to companies, we have to take care that TRC are in place. Form 10F is a self declaration that has to be taken by an NRI. So we should also take care that these documentation are in place. If there is a lower rate of TDS deduction on maybe interest, royalty, dividend, then that should also be documented. Relief from double taxation on salary and pension can be claimed. There are some articles. I don't think we'll have much of a time to discuss about the articles that are in place in DTAA, but Article 14 talks about independent personal service, 15 talks about dependent service, so on and so forth. So the care that we should take care as a CA is TRC should be in place, Form 10F is filed, and if we want to gain a relief under DTAA at the time of, maybe if we are talking about units in mutual fund, at the time of redemption of units, TRC should be in place. All right. So it is not at the time of filing of income tax return, but at the time of redemption of maybe units of mutual fund, or at the time of sale of the property, if we are talking about. So TRC should be in place. So here we go with our second case study, which gives us a brief overview about how to claim DTAA benefit. Now, here is a person called Mr. Rohit Shetty, and he is a US based NRI, Indian citizen settled in US. So obviously he's having NRO as well as NRE account. He owns one flat in Bangalore, from which he is getting a rental income, and he is investing in Indian equity mutual funds and government bonds. So here we are presuming that he is investing it in Indian currency, not in foreign currency. So we are out of the special provisions. So now how should we compute the income for 24-25? US salary, obviously whatever he is getting would not be taxable in India because we are classifying its status as non-resident. Rent from Indian property, 6 lakhs would be taxable in India. Interest from NRE FDs that he is getting would be exempt. Interest on NRO saving account would be taxable. Now, here I want to make an important point that we as a chartered accountant play crucial role in repatriating the funds from NRO to NRE account for tax saving purposes. So, how much funds to be transferred, when to be transferred, can be included in our consultancy for better tax planning. So he's having a long-term capital gain on a listed equity mutual fund, which he was owning for more than 1 year. And that gain, capital gain amounts to 1,20,000. Obviously, this would be taxable in India as this is at the rate of 10% under section 112A, whatever amount exceeding 1 lakh. So that 1 lakh exemption is also available for NRI. Now, investment income that he is receiving from a government bond, which he is receiving in foreign currency. So now here we are again applying 115E, which is coming under section 12A, and we are charging special rates, well, 20%. So over this particular income of 2 lakhs, he will not get any benefit of chapter 6A. All right. So DTAA relief, how can he claim? Mr. Shetty paid tax in US on rent. So he has also disclosed rental income in US. So as I have already told you, the tax has to be paid at the source. So because his property is in India, he has to pay taxes in India over the rental income, and that taxes paid in India can be taken credit in US. So how can he claim foreign tax credit? That is through Form 67 and after obtaining TRC. So from Form 67 for uh, for availing the tax credit is also a crucial part which we should take cognizance, and this stands true for even a salaried person who goes in a foreign country and lives there and gains, in some years he's living abroad and he is gaining salary, his tax is deducted at source there. At that time also we need to check whether the Form 67 is filed or not. All right. So when should we file Form 67, by the way? So here are a few tips for CAs, some recommendations. What are the documents we should take care? TRC, obviously, Form 10F, which is for the declaration of DTAA benefit. Then Form 67, which we have to file in India to claim foreign tax credit. Foreign tax paid proof. So any tax that he has paid in USA over the rental income. So we need to get the tax paid proofs with us as a documentation. When should we file Form 67 is before or with our Indian income tax return. So this was a case study to make the legal aspects understandable. I think let us skip the gift and inheritance taxation. So I'll quickly touch upon section 56.210. As we all know, section 56.210 talks about the taxable gifts for recipient in India. And if a person, and it include NRI, receives from anyone, that is resident or non-resident, and there are some things that are mentioned. So the cash is exceeding 50,000, immovable property without consideration, and we know the list. And there are some exclusions also when the gift is not taxable, marriage, will, everything. So let us go directly and jump on to the examples. Let us take an example that NRI father gifts rupees 15 lakhs to a daughter in India. Now, first of all, we need to check whether father and daughter relationship is included in the definition of section 56.210. Here I want again to take a note of one point that section 56.210 separately defines the term relatives. So it is not under the broader umbrella of section 2, but section 56.210 defines relatives and it includes spouse, siblings. When we talk about sibling, we mean real brother and sister. Siblings of spouse, that is also included, which was not there in the other definition, and lineal ascendants and descendants of spouses. which was also not included in the initial definition of relatives. So, this is all what section 56.210 mentions. Now, a quick comparison between the inheritance tax, India versus foreign. So, inheritance within India. So, if a property NRI inherits the property within India, it is not taxable as per 56.210. So, maybe the subsequent income that is generated will be taxable in the hands of recipient. A foreign inheritance to Indian residents. So, supposing that a foreign house or something is inherited by Indian resident, then it is also not taxable. Just that a disclosure in Black Money Act is needed. So, foreign assets, whatever need to be declared in Indian income tax return, has to be done carefully. Indian inheritance to NRI. All right, now this is important part. Indian inheritance to NRI, that is also not taxable because we are not taxing over the inheritance. So maybe taxable in NRI's country like UK has inheritance tax. What about sale of inherited property in India? Here capital gain will come into picture, and obviously capital gain has to be charged. Gifting inherited assets to relatives. If relatives are defined under section 56.210, then no tax. Otherwise, there will be it will be taxed in the hands of recipient. Now, here also we'll quickly go through one good case study for a better understanding gifting and inheritance. So, Mr. Arvind is NRI. He is living in UK and his mother lives in India. So, Mr. Arvind, an NRI, is gifting rupees 20 lakh to his cousin sister. All right, now this is very important point, cousin sister. So cousin sister, if we analyze the definition, it is not included in the definition of 56.210. Section 56.210 probably includes only real sister and real brother. So this would be taxed in the hands of recipient. How about inheritance of Pune property? If he is inheriting the property, it is exempt in India. UK has inheritance tax regimes, so maybe he has to comply with those tax regimes. How about a quick look at FEMA compliances? So, for FEMA compliances, no RBI approval is needed for inheritance, and gifted funds must be routed through obviously official banking channel. Again, the best practices that a CA should follow or maybe advise to the NRI clients is gift planning. How should he plan for gifts in from or to India? That should be taken care of. Mostly the parents who are living in India want to gift something to their NRI daughters, sons. So that has to be taken care as a broader tax planning angle. FEMA compliances, foreign reporting here plays a crucial role, and country specific rules also plays a crucial role. Um, Right. So let me quickly throw some glance, and we are at the flag end of our discussion now. Let me throw some quick glance at NRE account and NRO account and how the interrelated repatriation amongst these account is done. So NRE account, as we discussed, is for foreign sourced income mainly. So whatever foreign income that an Indian NRI has earned, and if he wants to repatriate any of that, which is an inflow to India, is freely repatriable. Principal plus interest. And we also have seen that NRE account interest is exempt. FCNR account in the same manner is freely repatriable. The conditions applies over the transfer from NRO to NRE account or any transfer from NRO account to any other person. So there is a restrictions which stands to under FEMA Act also USD 1 million per financial year. Now here also one tax planning angle comes into picture. We as a chartered accountant should take the cognizance of it. Sell proceeds of immovable property whenever NRI sells any property. So there also this USD 1 million per financial year per NRI stands to. So per NRI stands to. Then resident to NRI, gift or loan. Here also there are some guidelines as per FEMA, liberalized remittance scheme, and it is allowed freely repatriable USD 2,50,000. All right, here are some conditions that we should discuss. So, if a person wants to transfer funds from NRO account to NRE account, so what is important is the purpose of transfer and whether the taxes are paid or not. And why these conditions are levied, let me quickly tell you that because once the money flows from NRO, from rupees to the NRE account, that is the foreign sourced income account, Indian government may not have a full control over these funds. So what government want to ensure is before the money is flown from NRO to NRE account, they want that income taxes should be paid or deducted, TDS, as we discussed under section 195. Then for that purpose only, government also asks us as a chartered accountant to give 15 CB and the requirement, the declaration by the payer, that is 15 CA, which is needed, and the source of the fund and the nature of funds. So here purpose code, whatever we declare in 15 CB, also is very important. Here bankers also plays a crucial role. We have to I mean, the client is doing this repatriation, but we as chartered accountant have to have a good discussion with bankers also with respect to purpose code as well as for declaring the sources of the income. So that's why this repatriation plays an important role. I have already discussed about this particular aspect of Black Money Act. So anyone, not only NRI, even resident, if we fail to declare foreign assets in Indian Income Tax Act, there are some rules which are applicable in Black Money Act. So if we are into NRI taxation, consultancy, compliances, we should take cognizance of this particular act also. We need to make our client aware about the non-disclosures. If they make any to us, then they may follow penalty and the further music by the department. So non-disclosure of foreign assets, straightway 10 lakhs penalty. And there are number of penalties, imprisonment that may follow under Black Money Act. So now, just in next 5 minutes, I'll quickly touch upon the real estate investments by NRIs. If now I'll tell you a short story. A person who is having 2 3 flats in India, and now he is NRI for so many years, living in Australia maybe, and he wants to sell one of his properties to the buyer here. So section 195 comes into picture. Though section 195 mandates buyer to deduct the tax from the proceeds, that is the sell consideration. So we have to be very clear here that section 195 is applicable over the sell proceeds and not over the capital gains. All right. So out of the sell proceeds, whatever rate, we'll discuss that, has to be tax has to be deducted by the buyer. So now this is not a classic example of wherein a residential case we file 26 QB and it is based on PAN only. But if buyer is resident and he's buying a property from NRI, he has to apply for TAN, he has to file TDS return in 27Q, deposit TDS in 30 days. And mostly, why I'm telling this in detail is because for this particular sell transaction, your NRI would be visiting India for a very short span of time. So the timelines have to be strictly other by us as a chartered accountant also. And this guidance should be given to our NRI client in advance, in depth. Mind it that there are no threshold limits, like we have a limit of 50 lakhs in residential case. It so happened that one client reached out to me, gaining some Google knowledge, and he was telling me that only if 50 lakhs is exceeding, then only I'll be deducting the tax. That stands true for the seller, if the seller is resident. That doesn't stand true if the seller is non-resident Indian. All right. So here one important part that we have to take care. Let's say that the sell proceeds are 1 CR and we have to deduct 12.5% of the buyer has to deduct 12.5% as TDS. Now it amounts to huge chunk of money which is blocked for NRI. So here section 197 comes into picture wherein we can apply for lower rate of deduction of tax. Again, timelines play a crucial role. Though the form can be filed online, we need to visit income tax department and get it done in the decided timeline. And for this, The capital gain calculation has to be ready with us. We have to prepare that and discuss it with our client beforehand. Now, there are significant changes in the TDS rates post 23rd July, last financial year. And previously this rate was 20%, but now it has been reduced to 12.5% as government gives the benefit that they have given an option to the person whether to go with indexation or without indexation, and they have reduced the tax rate from 20% to 12.5%. I think these rates are in line with this particular change, and now the tax rate, base rate for TDS is 12.5. Surcharge if the property value exceeds 50 lakh, 10%. Surcharge if property value exceeds 1 CR, so on and so forth. So we have to be very clear what is the effective TDS rate for the buyer, as well as what is the withhold money for our NRI client. So at times, we as a chartered accountant should offer a full-fledged capsule to our client, NRI seller, as well as a resident buyer, so that both the things can be taken care under one roof. Uh, then again, real estate sale proceeds, we have already discussed 1 million USD is the uh, condition that we have to follow during a financial year. 15 CB should be issued, 15 CA should be issued. And what are the documents that are required on bank parts are these many. All right, so this is all about real estate property. I have already discussed the case study, though, so we will not go again to the case study part. I hope within whatever short time span that I have got, I have tried to touch upon many aspects of Income Tax Act, DTAA. We have discussed about TDS applicability. We have also discussed about residential status, and we have also touched upon the special provisions that are applicable for foreign exchange assets. So with this, I conclude my session. Thank you very much for WIMEC, CA Preeti Savla ma'am and the entire team. Thanks a ton for the patient listening. And I wish you a very happy NRI consultancy. Thank you.
Question from CA Medha. Is it
Okay.
better to obtain the TRC for an NRI if no exemption is claimed related to DTA?
Okay. See, my suggestion is the mandatory requirement for TRC is only when if you're going for lower rate of deduction, TDS deduction, or if you're going for DTA relief. But for our safeguard as a chartered accountant, it is always better that we should get a TRC from NRI client, because if any assessment scrutiny is further called for, it is always better that we should have a valid TRC on the date of transaction. So that is always suggested.
Because it is further asked that nowadays passports don't get stamp on exit or entry.
Right.
Another question from CA Sudha. NRI selling inherited agricultural land in India needs to submit 15 CB. How to consider the tax angle?
Okay, can you just repeat?
NRI selling inherited agricultural land in India needs to submit 15 CB. How to consider tax angle?
Okay. So, as this is an agricultural land, so it may not, we have to go into the details of the case and exactly check whether that agricultural land stands to as an agricultural land in the definition of Income Tax Act or not. And if it is an inherited agricultural land as per the Income Tax Act, then maybe the capital gain angle would not come into picture. But while repatriating the funds from maybe your NRO to NRE account, we need to declare the sources. And here you also have to go to one rule which is there, Rule 37BB, which also declares some repatriation as an exempt repatriation, where you may not need to get a 15 CB from a chartered accountant, but only the declaration by the payer is enough. That is 15 CA Part D. That is enough. So we need to also go to Rule 37BB and check whether these particular items fall in that. Otherwise, for 15 CB, we have to declare the sources and then you can repatriate.
Another question is NRI stays in USA and has a house in USA where he resides.
Okay.
Do we need to declare this house in foreign assets and his income earned in USA in his ITR?
Okay. So as its status, we presume that its status is non-resident as he is already owning a asset in USA. So he may not have to, because he is NRI, he may not have to declare his USA income in Indian income tax account, but he might have to declare his foreign asset, that is his house, that he is owning a house in Indian income tax return. Just the asset, not the income.
Thank you. Some more question. Should Form 13 be submitted online or is it to be submitted manually?
Previously, it was manual submission. Recently, they have made it online. So you need to online upload it over the portal. But then the follow-up and everything, because there are strict timeline adherence, for that you need to visit Income Tax Department. But the submission is online.
Okay, and last question. If NRI has investment in unlisted shares and investment was done through normal saving account, what will be the implications when he sell the unlisted shares?
Okay. So I actually have one more intricacy in this, because he being NRI, how can he have a saving account, and why he has purchased those unlisted shares through saving account? That needs to be checked first of all. And whenever he'll sell those shares, whatever treatment we give for the sell of share, as we have already discussed in one of our case study also, so the same treatment would be given for unlisted shares also. But he has repatriated that through saving bank account. Maybe that can be a question which needs to be pondered.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. And I hope you have got a good helicopter view, a bird's eye view for the NRI taxation, as the topic was suggesting that we need to have a 360-degree perspective for a chartered accountant. So I hope I was able to give you that bird's eye view about NRI taxation. Thank you very much.
Sonal, now your turn.
Yes. Thank you, CA Prajakta. That was indeed a very informative session, and definitely gave us a 360-degree overview on the various tax aspects of NRI taxation. Now it's time for another interesting topic, which is conflict resolution with confidence. And I would like to welcome CA Cheryl Elua Thingal, a chartered accountant and LLB graduate with over 8 years of experience in business, finance, and FP&A. She currently leads the finance controlling function and is also passionate about reading and public speaking. It's my pleasure to invite CA Cheryl Elua Thingal as she shares her insights on conflict resolution with confidence. Over to you, CA Cheryl.
Thank you, CA Sonal, for the introduction. And well, we had a very enriching session on NRI taxation, and definitely for me as well, it was quite insightful, although I am not a practicing chartered accountant. So, on that note, I think I'll just quickly share my screen and get to our next topic for the day. Well, it is a topic that we would be encountering every day, probably, because there might be minor conflicts, some disagreements, some disturbances in our day-to-day life. Since we being human beings, obviously, we may not agree with other people on all aspects, and we all have our perspective and point of view of a lot of things. So this picture speaks a lot. It's just bringing together, it's a jigsaw puzzle and two people bringing it together. So basically, how you come on the same page when you are disagreeing, that exactly is what conflict resolution calls for. So our topic for today is conflict resolution with confidence. As women, it is always seen, particularly in women, that we are very emotional people, right? And if I speak about my personal experience, many times it has happened, be it conflict at workplace, conflict at home, over any small issues, I end up crying and I lose the point in between. So how do you bring in confidence when you are resolving a conflict, or you are in between an argument, or you're negotiating something with somebody who is disagreeing with you? This exactly is what our topic for the day is. So it is basically effectively addressing disputes. Okay. But before we come to how to address a dispute, how to bring in confidence when we are addressing any conflicts, it is important to understand what a conflict is, right? Because we should know what situations need to be addressed. So what will you call as a conflict? In simple terms, it is basically a disagreement. So you see this picture right here. It shows two people in the same boat, but they are rowing in different directions, right? So they are disagreeing. They are disagreeing on something. Here it is. They do not know which direction to go into. They have worn. They are in good formal attire, which means which actually symbolizes they are disagreeing at something in their workplace, probably. So they are rowing in different directions, and what is happening? Nobody's interests are getting met. Now, neither they are going able to go to the left, nor are they able to go to the right. So a conflict in simple terms is what this picture shows you. It is a disagreement, and it can arise out of anything, probably different interests, difference in opinion, which is a major reason for conflict, difference in your value system. You have been brought up in a different way, and the person in front of you or the group in front of you has a different value system, and that's why it doesn't agree to it. So while we understand what a conflict is, what could be the type of conflicts, right? So there could be different types. One could be interpersonal conflict, that is me with somebody else, you with somebody else, or one or two people with somebody else, right? That could be interpersonal, between people, one to one. It could be intrapersonal. This, as human beings, we go through this kind of conflict many times. We keep thinking, what if I would have done, what if I take this decision? We are always in a dilemma, what would be the right decision over a certain scenario, whether we should go for this opportunity, not go, whether I should, multiple options in front of us, but we are not able to take a decision. So conflict that goes on in our head, basically, or within us, is basically intrapersonal conflict. Intergroup is within a group, like you are in a workplace, you are in office, or of course there will be a team size, say, of 5 to 10 people, and between the group there are conflicts. Some people think the other way, some people think this way. That could be one of the type of conflict. And finally, intergroup, that is within group. So say if you are in a large corporate, or even if you're in a CA firm, you have different teams. So one team with another team, they are not getting along. That could be also a type of conflict. So while we have understood what exactly is a conflict, it is also important to understand why conflicts are caused, because the term conflict itself is quite people take it quite negatively, right? And before getting into conflict resolution, we need to understand the background behind it, right? So what could be the common causes of conflict, right? So one of the major causes could be different perceptions. in our mind we think of somebody, like I see a person with whom I'm not agreeing to on a point. See, I'm at work and that person thinks of a point differently, and we both are not communicating with each other, but we are talking over email, say with a client or so with a customer or with a person of another department, and we are not communicating well, and we just perceive, we think that that person is not agreeing to our point and they want something else and they are against us. So that could be a major reason for a conflict. Second is, of course, it is out of that miscommunication. Sometimes due to language, like I'm not able to express myself correctly. Like I try to say something and it ends up as something else. And this leads to miscommunication. Sometimes you avoid communication. That is, if you see any conflicting situations, you keep quiet. And what happens? There is no communication channel. And because of that, your thoughts are not conveyed to the person with whom you are in conflict with or to the group that you're in conflict with. Conflicting values, this happens many a times between in a family situation, right? Not much at workplace, probably in family. So you are in conflict with over an idea with your parents, probably they come from a very different value system, from another generation, we are from another generation. Or conflict with your children, probably they are much younger, they come from another generation, they think of things differently and we think, and because of that we do not agree. There could be conflicting resources, that is, you do not have the right resources to do something, and the person whom you are in conflict with does not agree. They feel that you should be doing it irrespective of whatever situation you are in. It could be unpredictable policies. This is one type of conflict that is arising very recently post COVID. A lot of organizations are asking people to come back, they're stopping hybrid mode, asking people to come to office, or they have some other policy change, and it comes as a surprise to you, and it creates conflict between you and your manager and the organization, because you're not able to work in a certain way. And of course pressure. So when you are in lot of pressure, you tend to get angry, you don't think about the situation, you speak what you don't have to speak, you speak what you don't intend to, and it results in conflict, be it with whomever you are. So these could be the major causes of conflicts, broadly. And I think what, like, just roughly, I'll just go through what could be the stages of a conflict, right? If you are in a disagreement, first stage will be you don't realize that you're in a disagreement with that person. Then you go to, either of the party realizes, ha, there is some friction, kuch to gadbad hai hum dono mein, something is not aligning between us. And then it goes to both the parties start feeling that stress and anxiety, and then it gets manifested, that is, it is very visible to other people around you that ha, in dono mein kuch to gadbad hai, there's something going wrong, there's some friction happening, either between, it could be between husband and wife, between children, between parents and children, or between your in-laws, in a family situation, in a workplace, it could be between, say, you and your manager, you and your other colleagues, anything, and it start manifesting to other team members. And the aftermath could be either the conflict resolves or it lasts and it affects your future interactions. So this is how a conflict progresses basically. And right now we are looking at how to nip it from the bud in the manifestation, when it's visible to people or when it's felt, how to resolve it. Well, why do you think, like, somebody might think, why are we speaking about conflict resolution, why is this so important, we might as well spend some time on some other topic? Well, it's very important, but because it affects us on a day-to-day basis, it affects us, we sometimes we are under too much anxiety, too much under stress, because we have unresolved conflicts, be it with anybody, be it in a workplace situation or family situation. So what could be the benefits of conflict resolution? Of course, number one would be improved relation. Instantly, when you address the conflict, when the conflict is resolved, relationship between those people or those groups instantly improves, and it smoothens everything, like the entire conversation, entire work that you're doing, it smoothens up, and you obviously feel much more positive, much more stress free. It improves productivity, especially in a workplace. Like if suppose any team member reporting into you has any conflict with you, you don't address it and you don't resolve it. Every day that builds up, those emotions get build up, and it will affect the work of that person. That person would be a very good person who would perform well otherwise had this conflict been resolved, and we're just focusing on these issues, unresolved issues, which is affecting the productivity of this person. It improves satisfaction, of course, overall in an organization. If conflicts are resolved within a team, everyone in the team is happy, so of course it brings in overall satisfaction. People tend to stay with you for longer. If you are managing a team, if you are managing people under you, you're just happy in the space that you are in, right? So it, of course, it creates a positive impact overall. It enhances the communication and makes you tension free. It reduces stress, because if you have any unresolved conflict, the first thing that you will think about when you wake up or you're on the way to office would be, oh god, I have to face this person now, which is a very stressful situation to be in, right? Yeah. So moving on. So how could you resolve? I'll come to how to bring in confidence in conflict resolution. Before that, how do people normally resolve conflicts? Okay. So to resolve conflicts, there could be many ways, right? The first or the most like convenient way people think of to resolve conflict is to avoid the conflict, right? Even in at home sometimes, like personally, if I'm having any argument with my husband, and we do not reach a conclusion, what will I do? I will just avoid that. So I will say, let him do whatever he wants to do, let me do whatever I want to do. Let us avoid the conflict because it is not getting resolved. Whether this is a very good situation, short term, probably it might work, but in the long term, it will affect your relationship, because these unresolved conflicts that you have avoided or you have just parked will actually get built up. So what will happen? Just think of a like a building housing society with limited parking space. Like there is parking space only for 10 cars. You avoid 10 types of conflict. At the end, what is going to happen? You park 10 cars, there will not be space to park 11th car, right? So all these unresolved conflicts are going to get built up, and ultimately it's going to affect your relationship with whomever, be it in your family or be it at your workplace, because workplace relationships are also as important, because you're spending half of your day at work. So all these unresolved conflicts affects your relationship, your productivity. So the first thing that people normally do is avoid a conflict. Okay, that's the best convenient way they see. Next is, I will say, they try to negotiate, right? So if you are in a conflict with anybody, normally what do? You will try to negotiate with the person. Okay, let's just think about in a different way. Let's just take something of what you're thinking, something of what I'm thinking, and let's just come in between. बीच में आके बात करते. It's like bargaining, right? So that could be one of the ways. Mediation. Sometimes conflicts in workplaces escalate. When they escalate, what happens? HR needs to get involved, or your super bosses, like people, the HODs sometimes have to get involved if it is between a team member, and they could be good mediators. So they like everyone sits in front of a table, and then they discuss what could be the issues or what could be the pros and cons, and then they reach a win-win situation, which comes to our next technique of conflict resolution. It is basically collaborate. So you yourself take the initiative, or the person whom you are in conflict with, you all both take an initiative and say, okay, this is your problem, this is my problem, let's come in between and let's collaborate and see what best we can make out of the situation. Because if, for example, it is a conflict rising out of different value systems, right? You may not change your values for that person, but you may come somewhere in between. Like classic conflicts I've seen recently is work from home, work from office. Our employer wants us to work from home, wants us to work from office, but considering a lot of things, especially women who have a lot of who have kids to take care of, or probably who have to travel a lot, who have responsibilities at home, they expect that they should be given work from office, right? Work from home, sorry. So between this work from home, work from office tussle, what happens? Productivity. So how do you address such situations? One way could be to collaborate and come in between and see what could be a win-win situation for both the parties. Next is compromise. One of the parties just compromise. So like the example I gave you for work from home, work from office situation. One of them compromise. Either the manager says, "Okay, forget it. You are good at your work. You work from home. Doesn't matter to me. Although I would prefer you working from office." So you come to a compromise. And one of the last methods could be withdrawing. One of the person just backs out and say this conflict is there. I agree to it. I acknowledge that there is a conflict, but there can be nothing done about it. So let's just not resolve it. Let's just live with it. So both the parties, you agree that there is a conflict, but you just withdraw from it and you do not get into any resolution. So it's very important that all, be it any technique, you need to listen, discuss, and find solutions together, because that could be the best outcome rising out of a conflict. So let's just move on. Now, what could be the steps in conflict resolution? So before we get to how to bring in that confidence, how to control your emotions, what could be the steps in conflict resolution is first to identify and acknowledge the problem. First, in your head, you do not deny that there is this conflict. First, acknowledge and identify. Okay, this is the issue I am facing. Call it out loud in your mind. So identify the problem. Only when you identify the problem is when you will get a resolution to it. Second is to understand perspectives. People always think of conflict to be a very negative term. That is, they get very aggressive and they feel that I need to win in this situation. Somehow, my point of view should be the one that has to be agreed, or I am correct. I think we should just park all these. In fact, I personally was a person, and I'm working a lot towards it. In some situations, even today, I do not understand the perspective of other person, but I make a conscious effort to park my aggression, park my anger, and understand the other person's perspective, so that we can get involved in a resolution. So number one, of course, identify the problem. Second is understand the person's perspective. Keep your emotions, keep your anger, keep your aggression, or whatever stress, anxiety that you're going through aside, and understand why that other person is not agreeing to you. And finally, sit together, find a joint solution. If it is a workplace conflict with a team member, just ask the team member, chalo, let's go and have a cup of tea and let's discuss what could be a solution to it. Get that person in an informal setting instead of a formal setting. Probably let's just go and have lunch together and let's just discuss what could be a joint solution, because it's very important the parties involved in a conflict bring a joint solution. So uh, identify the problem, understand perspectives, and of course, finally, bring in a joint solution. Well, then what could be the mistakes that we could do in situations of a conflict resolution? I touched upon this earlier. We ignore emotions. We always think too rationally. We ignore the fact that the other person's emotions are involved. There are a lot of emotions involved. We forget to empathize. We do not. So there is a very I think a lot of you would have heard of this term, emotional intelligence. We do not connect with the other person's emotions. As human beings, all of us have emotions. Sometimes some conflicts could also be resolved while understanding the other person's emotions, especially women. I feel are more overwhelmed by emotions, and we sometimes do not have control over emotions, and person like people in the family may not understand what emotions or what state of mind we are going through, so people ignore their emotions. It could be a one-sided solution, like especially probably in a family dispute, like between you and your family members, you are not agreeing to the kind of living arrangement or work situation that you in, and people just come up with a one-sided solution. Like I just had one colleague who recently got married, and she wanted to work and she wanted to prove, and a very very capable person, a team member of mine. And unfortunately, her family members just said that women in our family do not work, so we will not prefer you working. And she agreed to it, although it was not the preferred way of solution. And even today, she's under a lot of conflict, lot of stress, and a lot of anxiety, guilt that her professional career is given up because she agreed to a one-sided solution. Third could be aggressive approach, because these aggressive approaches, anger, will not bring us to any resolution. It will only aggravate the conflict. So with that, let's come to how do you show confidence in a resolution. So this picture, it symbolizes a lot. It, of course, it's a woman. It could be men also. A super woman in types. And at the end of a conflict resolution, that woman is smiling, right? So she's happy with the kind of resolution she had, and she's confident. She doesn't, she's not like overwhelmed by the outcome of the conflict, right? So how do you bring in confidence in conflict resolution? Number one thing to be confident when you are going to confront somebody, when you're going to try and speak about your conflict, is know your goals, know what the end objective should be. Like, for example, if you are in workplace, you do not agree to the work allocated to you. Suppose a hypothetical situation where you do not agree to the work allocated to you, okay? And your manager comes to you and speaks to you, and instead of speaking about the work, you speak about all the other things, like you favor this person more, you do not allow me to go home on time, and n number of things, which was not your goal. Your discussion was to see how you get your work reallocated so you could do more. I would say you would
Who
do
do you
more
want to send a message to?
quality work, right? So that could be a situation. Your goals first and foremost thing before, when a conflict arises, just you have to accept the fact that conflicts happen. In every person's life, conflicts happen, and very frequently they happen, because we as human beings uh, may disagree on a lot of things, and these situations will be uncomfortable. So if you have to be confident in a conflict resolution, you have to acknowledge the fact that conflicts are uncomfortable. Once you establish that fact, it's not going to be easy. Be it, see, in your family, if you're arguing over a certain thing, in your workplace, or between your friends, if you're arguing over something, you have to acknowledge the fact that it is going to be uncomfortable. It's not going to be a piece of cake, right? And the key to bring in confidence is to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. So this is a very difficult conversation you're going to have, but you are just at ease and you're comfortable. Okay, let's just talk through it, and let's just see what outcome will arise out of it. But you know that this is my final goal and this is my final objective. So having a clear goal basically will help you to stay focused. It will avoid distractions, that you don't deviate from the main issue that you're facing, and you can negotiate very well with whomever you are having this resolution with, right? What could be the next best thing that you could do to bring in confidence in conflict resolution? So there is a picture here which says, learn to read and influence people through non-verbal communication. It is not only important what we speak, non-verbal communication is also a very important factor when we are resolving a conflict. Imagine a person who, imagine a person in office, okay? You are in a conflict with that person, and you are sitting in a room, in a conference room or in a meeting room, and that person just barges in, he bangs the door and comes and sits in front of you. What will it convey about the body language of that person? That this person is very angry, he's ready to confront me, and he's getting very aggressive, and he just wants to prove his point. Whatever that person will say, you will always have that state of mind that, okay, ye aadmi to jhagda karne aaya hai mere se. So that's how important non-verbal communication is, right? So how you speak, how more than how you speak, how you carry yourself, the non-verbal gestures you make are very important. So your body language conveys a lot. So be comfortable, even if you are in a situation at workplace, or at home. If you're crying and trying to negotiate out of a conflict or a disagreement that is going to happen, what will happen? The other person is not going, this conversation will not be respectful. The other person will be, हाँ ये तो हमेशा रोती रहती है. They will have that kind of mentality. Be in workplace, if you have some kind of issue, how, like, if you want somebody to respect you, you should also command that respect. That respect can be commanded very well through non-verbal. So be, if you have to be calm, composed. If you're not calm and composed, don't initiate the conversation. Tell that person, today I'm not ready to discuss this topic, probably give me a day or two, let me just think about it and I will come back to you. That's why body language is very important, to have a win-win situation. So in body language, one another thing that is very important is maintaining good eye contact. Okay, you have a firm voice but a friendly voice. You do not keep screaming at people, because that will not bring in any resolution. That will only aggravate the conflict. So maintain good eye contact. Use a firm but friendly tone of voice. Keep your posture upright. Be relaxed. Try, if you're not relaxed, normally what I do, when in my initial years when I started working, I was in a conflict with my reporting manager, and that conflict was regarding work timings, that he did not appreciate me leaving work, and suddenly he expected me to work till late. And I wanted to go and have this conversation for me, but I was not ready. So what I would normally do, I would just go to the washroom in office and I would just rehearse what all I want to say, just so I would calm myself down in that. Yeah, and I would also know what outcome I want. And when I go to speak to this person, I will be more composed. I will not be fidgeting. I will not be getting scared, and I would be looking eye to eye so I can gain respect of this person. So body language naturally reduces stress in any conversation. If like, imagine a conversation with your friend, right? You are sitting comfortably, he's probably having a cup of tea or eating something over a meal you're speaking. Imagine that kind of conversation you are having with a person you are in conflict with or during a disagreement. How much change will that bring to the outcome of that conflict? You will definitely reach a very happy outcome, a very promising outcome for both the parties. Yeah? What could be the next thing now in how to in bringing in confidence in conflict resolution? To listen. What happens when we are overwhelmed by emotions, overwhelmed, we are angry, we are in between a disagreement, we forget to listen. When we forget to listen, we do not understand the other person's perspective, and the conversation will always be one sided, right? So it's very important that you listen very well so that you can reciprocate and you can have much more confidence in a conversation. So having confidence does not only mean dominating the conversation, right? It's not only you speaking and the other person listening and ignoring the other person's perspective. It should, when it's a communication, it's a conversation, it should be two-way, right? So confidence also means listening to the other person, right? So uh, if you have seen confident people or world leaders, if you have seen them, or if you have seen, suppose for example, the person who heads the organization that you are in, say the MD of the company, or your partner in a CA firm, or your teacher, probably, when if you're a student, these people are very good listeners. Yeah, they empathize, they understand other people's emotion, they acknowledge your emotions, you connect with them. Why do you connect with them? Because they listen very well to you and reciprocate to that conversation. So this is a very important factor to have confidence and command a conflicting situation. Listening also means to pay attention, right? So this diagram here shows what could be steps of active listening. So number one is to be attentive. Listen, not just listen to listen, but comprehend or understand what the other person is saying. So be attentive. To summarize, so in your mind, just rethink, okay, this is what this person is trying to say. Okay, this is the gist of it. Ask open-ended questions. So in between this person speaking, probably you could interrupt if it doesn't hamper the flow of the conversation, and ask open-ended questions. Show empathy. This is something that we lack a lot, like especially I have seen that in conflicting situations between your manager and team members, people lack empathy. People just be selfish and say, I need this work to be done and you have to do it at any cost. We lack empathy. We forget to understand the fact that this person probably has a family, has issues, sometimes even mental health issues, some physical challenges, some issues, some pressures from the family at workplace, which is affecting this person. So we forget these situations. Request for clarification. If you do not understand any point this person is speaking, request for clarification and ask them to reiterate what they're trying to say. Paraphrase, rephrase, paraphrase what they are trying to say, and use open body language. This is just an outcome of our previous set. So actively listening, it actually helps to build a good rapport. People you are most comfortable to speak with, or the go-to people, that the person you go to when you are in any danger, in any conflicting situations, or when you feel anxious and you want somebody to talk to, is the person who listens to you, right? So be that person when you are in a conversation or that is leading to a conflict resolution, because that will bring in immense confidence in you and it will help you to find a common ground. What could be the next step, like to bring in confidence? Express yourself very clearly. Like I gave you an example, in my initial years I was a fresher and I did not agree to my reporting manager. What I would do, I would just go to the washroom and rehearse, okay, this is what I'm going to say, this, because that person was very senior to me, and to stand in front of him and speak in front of him, I needed to be clear what I wanted. So in my mind I would rehearse this conversation and on how to express myself, what is going on in my mind, what I'm going to speak to. Okay, so confidence also means that you clearly express and respectfully, without shouting, without screaming, without being aggressive, or without yelling at each other. Respectfully say, this is my point. If you feel the other person is yelling at you, just pause, bring a pause to the conversation, because anger is always, most cases, it's a spur of the moment reaction, right? So just bring a pause on that situation. I am just smiling because I always recollect what my husband is. I always get angry, and in the spur of the moment I used to end up speaking a lot of things. So what my husband would just do, he would just go out of the room or just get out of the house, have a stroll and come back, and by the time he would come back, my mood would have changed and I would be like in a better position to actually discuss whatever issue we have been discussing, or whatever issue that we are disagreeing on. So it's very important to have a calm composure to express yourself clearly. Otherwise you will be just blabbering a lot of things and it's not going to bring a solution. Use I statements to own your feelings and options and avoid blaming. So instead of blaming, you did this, it's your fault, just say, I feel that you could have done it better. I feel that this is not the correct way. So use I a lot, because this just changes the direction of the conversation, be it at home, be it at your workplace. Just say that this is what I feel, do you think this is correct, this is my perception. Instead of saying that you did it wrong, you could have done it better, just say, I feel that you could have done it better, what do you think, this is my perception. It will just change the direction of the conversation. You should be able to express your emotions without being aggressive. Again, like without being this is a very important thing. Without being defensive, without being aggressive, without raising your voice, maintain. And this will not come in a day. You will have to very consciously bring this into your character, right? Without being aggressive and defensive, to be able to express your, because if you are aggressive, defensive, the other person is not going to listen to you, and this happens with many conflicting situations. Coming to the next point on how you can. So this picture shows it out. This woman is just so happy, and this shows that she's open to any ideas that is coming towards us. So be flexible and open-minded. So showing confidence in a conflict does not mean being rigid. You have to be flexible and open-minded to understand the other person's perspective, right? And give the other person a chance to speak. Sometimes we are the only one speaking and dominating the conversation. We are not open minded, which leads to situation, like which actually brings down our confidence, because what are we trying to do? We are only trying to be defensive in a conversation, and it brings down our confidence because other person is not responding that way. And you should also have the courage to apologize, to admit your mistakes. Being flexible also means that if you realize between a conversation, okay, this part I'm wrong in this part, be upfront. I don't think there is any wrong in accepting your mistakes, and accepting feedback, because no person is perfect and there is always scope for improvement, right? Being flexible and open-minded, it'll actually just fasten the process. Like, instead of days and days you're arguing over the same point over and over and over and again, it will just quickly resolve the conflict, and it will build trust, and of course improve relationships. That is like a no-brainer. This is very important. Seek assistance when needed. Okay, so showing confidence does not mean that you handle everything on your own. There may be some, you could have done everything right. You could have maintained a calm composure, you would have listened to the other person, you would have spoken yourself clearly, but still the other person is not trying to understand. So what does that mean? Probably you need some assistance, you need help, you need a third party, a negotiator, a friend, or a mediator who could probably intervene and help you through. Especially in workplace conflicts, we see that if things are not working out, we ask the HR to interview. Okay, you be a neutral party and discuss, or you go to the HR and say, okay, this is my issue, what do you think I should do about it? In conflicting situations at home, normally people discuss it with their friends, discuss it with a close aide or somebody who they feel can help them in a situation. And in when things escalate a lot, they also go to counselors, and in many situations counselors help and resolve this conflict. So seek assistance, because when you bring in a third party, a neutral person, it just brings a different perspective to this conflicting situation. And you also understand, okay, we could have thought of this differently, probably. We both are wrong, and we could have thought of a third solution, right? And one very important thing, when you seek assistance, you should be careful not to involve too many people to escalate the conflict. Especially in family disputes, husband-wife disputes, we have seen that the entire family just barges in, and one part of the family with the other part of the family, they are just arguing, they are pointing fingers at each other. One person will say your daughter is wrong, one person will say your son is wrong. So avoid such situations, because this will only escalate, and it'll not bring you any, I would say, resolution. So probably bring a neutral party, like a friend, like a couple, a friend of yours who you're very close to, and discuss it with them. Okay, this is the issue that we're facing, instead of bringing in too many family members and ruining the resolution process. Well, what are the few other things? I have touched upon a lot of things on how you can bring in confidence. What are the few other things that you have to consider? We could have already touched upon it, but I just want to call it out. Emotional intelligence, understanding the other person's emotion, gauging their emotions, very important. We forget that as human beings, we have emotions, and even they need to be considered while addressing any conflicts. Think of conflict as an opportunity. A lot of times we think of conflict, okay, this is going to be a fighting ground, either you win or I win. Think of it as an opportunity to improve. If it's in your workplace, think of it as an opportunity to improve processes, to improve systems, or for your personal growth. If it's a conflict in the family, think of it as an opportunity to improve your relationships, to further fine tune it and get more close to each other, since you've resolved all these unresolved things. One very important thing, prepare in advance. Like, this is from my personal experience. When you just get into any argument or any discussion to resolve any conflict, and you don't know what you have to speak to, and you fumble, and you actually lose ground, and then you get scared. So to avoid such situations, just prepare in advance in your mind. Find a quiet space, and in your mind just declutter. Listen to music, that helps a lot. Declutter yourself and rethink about that situation and prepare. Okay, this is what I'm going to say, and this is the outcome I want. It will help you a lot. Be it within your family also. If you have any dispute, just pause. If there is an argument, just pause, just walk out of that situation for the time being. Pause, think through, and then come back to the person, say, see, I want to discuss this. Are you comfortable now? Or do you think it's not the right time? So, and of course, celebrate small successes. So sometimes it happens out of conflict, like whatever you want, you have got it, right? And we do not acknowledge. So celebrate that success, because it's very important for you as a person to acknowledge that, yes, I have sailed through this conflict to bring in more confidence. When once you know that in the past also I have sailed through such conflicting situations, it will just up your confidence in dealing future situations. May not be similar, but just dealing future conflicts. So this is something I already touched upon. What could be a healthy conflict or unhealthy conflict? Just calling that out. A healthy conflict is where parties respect each other. They are calm. They are not defensive, right? And they are ready. Your body language, your communication is in a such that you're ready to move past the issue. You both are wanting that resolution, and you desire to seek compromise, right? So it's your intention to speak compromise, right? It's not only that you have come it's not only the fact that you are discussing, but you desire to seek that compromise. And your what could be an unhealthy conflict? Probably you do not understand what the other person wants. You're angry, you're defensive, you're exploding. You just focus on winning this conversation and winning the argument, and you're not looking for any permanent resolution of that issue. You just want to win that argument at that point of time, and you refuse to seek compromise. You say, I don't want your compromise. This is what I think is correct, and I'm going to do it this way only. And you fear that, okay, if I discuss this issue, probably there will be some bad outcome out of it, and that's why you don't discuss it. So all this could be reasons of how a conflict is not healthy, right? So while we discuss how to bring in confidence, one very important aspect of confidence, I read this very beautiful quote which says, when two elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers, because the elephants will fight and then they will move apart. But the grass has permanent damage to it until it regrows. So you have to be mindful of collateral damage. When you resolve a conflict, you forget that, especially in family disputes. I've seen children suffering when there are disputes in the family. It affects their mental health. In disputes at workplace, it always happens that the team suffers, that those two people may have resolved their conflict, but the overall, I would say, morale of the team, it suffers. Their working style, their work suffers. So be very mindful that after resolving any conflict, whether there was any collateral damage, and take those people also into consideration when you are bringing in any resolution to a conflict. Okay. So this was how you could just resolve any conflict. Like I did give you some examples while we were discussing, right? So in workplace, like what could be the conflicts in situations? For example, I'll just give one example and how you can manage it. Like you have a manager, or your boss always micromanages things. That morning you come and tell me what all you are doing. At the end of the day, come to me and say what all you did. Before leaving, you tell me. Before going to lunch, you tell me. And tell me, mark me in all your emails, keep me live updated. So this is an example of a person micromanaging, not giving you freedom to work, right? So how do you think you can resolve this situation with confidence? One very good thing is, you straight away go to that person. First, prepare in advance. Okay, this is the outcome. Go to that person and say, sir, ma'am, I am also a professional. I also, while I may not have that much professional experience as much as you, but I would appreciate if you gave me the freedom to do things my way, and if you trusted me. I've been in the organization for so long, so probably if you can trust me with certain decisions to start with, it will help. Like if you can help me take up some things independently, even if that person is not agreeing to, keep reminding that, like, still, if that person is rigid, if you have an HR, if you have an internal person who looks after, probably take their help to resolve such a conflicting situation. What could be a conflicting situation in your family? Okay. Of course, between husband and wife, that could be a classic example. You disagree over For example, say money matters. Your husband wants things to spend for X person, and the wife is not agreeing. She says, "This is a splurge. I don't agree to it." How do you bring in? How do you resolve such situations? Have open communication. Like as chartered accountants, we all are very good at our maths and maintaining records. Bring out your records, prepare Excel tables, and see what expense are you making on a monthly basis, and whether this expense, what are the long term plans for your savings. And between you and your husband, you discuss it. Between the spouse, you and your spouse, you discuss it and chart it out and see whether that expense is still justified, looking at all the numbers on the page. This is one thing that I normally do, because it's better to put things on paper and then discuss whether the spend is justified or not. And it, like you say in office also, data speaks. So even at in family, like disagreements on spending money, data speaks, because you have, so be creative with the way you address the problem, instead of just screaming or yelling at each other over the same thing over and over again. Or probably there could be some in-laws related conflict, right? A lot of women face that. So probably get your husband into confidence and ask him to get this situation resolved. Or I just be passive for the time being. Don't be aggressive about it, and think and keep repeating what are your needs, and try to negotiate, right, to bring in a win-win situation. Sometimes it could be on upbringing of your children or your parenting styles. Many parents argue about it, right? So how do you bring have an open communication and then resolve that? Probably you could sit together and think about people in your within your friend circle, in your community, who are having different parenting styles, and see whether that works for your child, right? And come to a common ground, in such a way, see how other people are raising their children, think of whether this will work for you all or not, instead of always disagreeing on your parenting style, right? So come together and communicate and empathize with each other. So this was all on the topic. So I hope I have been able to throw light on it. And well, it's one just passing thought I would like, just think of conflict as a reason for change. If you think about conflict in such a way, it will just change the way you handle it. It will bring in a lot of conflict. It will reduce your stress levels. Just think of any conflicting situations as a reason for a as a catalyst for a better change, or better perspective, or betterment in your life. So that's all from my side on this topic. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me, giving me the chance to speak on it, and I hope I've been able to do justice to it.
Thank you very much, Cheryl Madam, for enriching us and enlightening us to how to handle the conflict in day-to-day situation. And I'm also expressing my gratitude for all the participants for taking the time to join and making this session wonderful and successful. Cheryl ma'am, can we take some questions?
Yeah, sure, we can.
Question, whether introspection is needed?
In a conflict.
Yes.
Okay, so definitely, like I said, if you have to prepare in advance, right? So if you have to resolve a conflict, you definitely need to introspect. Take time off. If you think you're not clear about your perspective, or you're not clear about what you want out of the situation, just take time off. Just ask that person, I need some more time to discuss this topic. I'm not clear on what outcome I want, or this is the not right. This is not the right state of mind for me. So introspection is definitely important, because if you are in the spur of the moment, it is only going to cause damage, and you are not going to get any resolution out of it. I hope I answered this question.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think admin can inform.
Sure, sir.